I spit Patron on this microphone. Watch out, I'm in the zone. Worth for everything I own. Life is March Madness. One mistake, then you go. Yeah, I had a stroke, but your boy still rhyming. And Fresh got locked, but the squad still wildin'. Catch me in any city in the hood, we grinding.
The next topic we're going to discuss on Boxing Bros are the pay-per-view numbers for Errol Spence Jr. versus Danny Garcia. It's been reported by multiple sources that Errol Spence Jr. and Danny Garcia sold 250,000 pay-per-view buys. And of course, Bob Arum is disputing it. But those are the reports that Errol Spence Jr. versus Danny Garcia did 250,000 pay-per-view buys at $75 a whop. Trill dollar bill, what's your reaction to those numbers?
It's good. It's good. I mean, doing these numbers during this situation and with everything going on in the world right now, is good. You know, I think things would have been different. The numbers would have been different if situations was different. And but hey, they did good. Shout outs to if listen, they would have did more if we already discussed this. If the price was down a little bit, you know, I feel like they would have did more. But you know, they did good. They did good. I'm not mad at it. Especially right now. I think that's good. It's bigger than all the other people. It's bigger than all the other numbers that the other networks is putting up at this time right now. So, yeah, kudos to these gentlemen. I just wish we learned that if you cut that price down a little bit, it probably would have been more. Probably would have got to like 300 or something.
All right, G.
I'll take it a notch above Trill. I think they did real good. You know what I'm saying? And here's why. This was like a week after the Mike Tyson, Roy Jones pay-per-view. You know what I mean? So you're asking for boxing fans to now pay like what? This is like $130 now within 2 weeks. Huh?
Yeah.
It was like 75. Oh, 75? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're paying $50 one week, and then the very next week you're paying 75. So those 250,000 pay-per-view buys is actually pretty good. So I'm impressed by that. I feel like Bob Arum's a hater. So I can understand why he's probably questioning it, because he's probably like, man, I don't see TC pulling out these type of numbers. Like, what's going on here? Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, you know, that rivalry between him and Al Heyman. So he got to hate on PBC regardless. But, you know, these are pretty good numbers, man. I'm telling you, like, because, yo, that Mike Tyson fight was literally just a week before. So if you could still pull that off during a pandemic where a lot of people lost their jobs, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's pretty impressive. So salute to both Errol Spence and Danny Garcia for pulling out those numbers.
Ned.
Man, well, if that's impressive, then like, I mean, Mike Tyson outsold him by 1 million views, because he went 1.2 million, and that's next level of retired Mike Tyson to sell over 1 million. So 1 million more views, 1 million more pay-per-view buys than Danny and Spence. So that's dope. They're generating traffic, they're generating revenue, but you know they could do better. You know, promote themselves and you know get on that type of level. But hey, I can't compare the two. You know, it's two different levels right there. But yeah, shout out to them.
But that compared the two, what you just compared the two. You're the one who opted to.
I did.
But, yo, to me, that's even more why what they did was impressive. Because they went up against, you got to think about it, Mike Tyson, Roy Jones, these are actual legends, bro. You know what I'm saying? And they went against a price point of $50. They kept theirs at $75 the following week. That's even more impressive, bro. Errol Spence ain't a Mike Tyson. Like, stop it, Ned. Like, I hear what you're saying. But that, to me, your argument goes in the favor of Errol.
No, I'm not just saying they should at least get half, but I'm like, Mike Tyson still outsold him by 1 million pay-per-view buys.
Out of respect for the crybabies who feel like I attack Ned when I just do what I do, I'm not even going to respond. I'm not even going to respond to what Ned said. What we have in
what Ned was trying to say No.
No, what you have in Errol Spence and Danny Garcia is you have a star in the making. Not someone whose career is finished, but someone who is taking the steps to build their career. It's a different time. It's a different era in boxing. And Roy Jones and Mike Tyson, they're from an era where you had to buy boxing. Like, it's just the nostalgia where I remember I had to find people who could order the Tyson fight and go to their crib, and then we would watch it together. It was just like you had the brotherhood, the fellowship. It was just an event. And when you talk about Roy Jones, it was the same thing. So now when these two collide years later, you get that feeling like, yo, I need to be with the people. I need to watch this. Like, it just felt like that. Even I told my bros, like in the chat, the casuals are watching this. And I knew the casuals were watching because like they would all hit me up. Like, this is when Floyd was active. The casuals used to hit me up and be like, yo, you ordering the fight? Oh, I'm watching the fight. What are your thoughts on the fight? Like when Floyd was going to fight McGregor, the casuals came again. That's how I knew that fight was going to be successful. I started getting all these questions. People who normally don't, people hit me up about boxing. And it started to happen with Tyson and Jones. And I'm like, yo, the casuals are watching this fight. So that's how I knew that fight was going to be big. So I didn't get that with this. But I think there are key factors that are being overlooked. And one's the price. Again, we spoke about it and we broke it down. Mike Tyson and Roy Jones charged $49 in America for this fight. And they said it did 1.2 million pay-per-view buys. $49 at 1.2 million buys is $58,800,000 is what that fight generated. So that fight generated over 58 million. Errol Spence and Danny Garcia at $75 a whop, selling 250,000 buys, generated $18,750,000, which is significantly less. And you look at the price, that $26 makes a difference in who could afford to buy it. Who can afford to buy that pay-per-view? And like G pointed out, Tyson Jones had their fight before Errol Spence and Danny Garcia. So some people chose to buy that fight and then they couldn't afford to buy the Danny Garcia and Errol Spence fight. I think the numbers are decent given the fact that it's tough times, recession. People don't have jobs. People are struggling right now. It's holiday season. People are buying presents. People are buying gifts. And they pulled out 250,000 pay-per-view buys. That's around what we were seeing prior to this situation. When you look at Errol Spence Jr. versus Mikey Garcia did 350,000. Errol Spence Jr. versus Sean Porter did 300,000. And that when it wasn't a pandemic during the holiday season where people don't have money. So when you could take all that in consideration, I think those numbers are solid. But now let's turn our attention to Bob Errol. Yesterday I was lying, but today I'm telling the truth. Bob Errol. Bro, you said the numbers were bad or weren't real from the Sean Porter fight too. You said that Kubrat Pulev was going to knock out Anthony Joshua. You said that Kubrat Pulev was going to win, and you said you're not even going to have to worry about undisputed with Anthony Joshua because Kubrat Pulev was going to beat him. I didn't see that happen either. Bob Arum, you say a lot of things, right? But how about you focus on getting your fighters into the pay-per-view fights that people pay to see instead of hating on everyone else? I think those numbers were decent. I personally expected better numbers, but once the numbers came in and you take all the hurdles into consideration, Tyson, pandemic, money, holiday season, I think those numbers are decent, but they do show that there's work to be done and that boxing still has a long way to go. And I think one of the things it can do is drop that price. It would help a lot.
Please like and subscribe. Let us know how you feel in the comment section. Check us out on Instagram and Twitter. And please check out our podcast on all major streaming services. We are the Boxing Bros. Stop hating, Bob.
Oh, shut up, Trev.
We could have been flawless, flying up to make people's mouths drop jawless. How can 2 years be erased in 1 August? And you know I have my pride, so I had to get brolic. All in all, I can't call it. Just know you're my queen. Wish I was denim, cause then I be in your jeans. Can't fight fate, and you been loving me since your teens. But when you can't move forward, you gotta wipe your slate clean.